You're listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians.
So I'd like to start today by wishing you a very happy new year. And although it's mid-January, it's probably quite timely because this is round about the time that most people are stepping away from their resolutions. It's about the time of year when people have stopped thinking about goals. They've stopped thinking about where they want to go because that was weeks ago, and either they've kept going or in the vast majority of cases, they've given up. So I thought it was quite timely then to actually think about doing a sort of boot camp. So for the next few weeks, throughout January and into February a little bit, I'm going to do a boot camp where I give you some tips to do that you can practice in between the podcast episodes to see a shift in your own mindset. And today we're going to talk about something that might seem really simple. I know when I first heard about it, I thought it was too simple to actually bring about any change, but it can have a profound impact on your riding and on your overall mindset in life in general. And that is watching what you say. So when we think about the impact on your mindset, let's begin with a very basic and quite essential truth that the way you talk to yourself affects how you feel, affects how you ride, and ultimately how you perform. Now, this isn't just that you have a mantra as you get on to ride, I'm feeling fine, it's not that. This is a whole different landscape. This is totally changing what you do inside your head. So the words that you choose, whether they're spoken or whether they're in your own mind, inside your head, can either support or sabotage your mental game. And if you think about it, if you constantly tell yourself, I'm a nervous rider, or I'm just not good enough, then your brain, or rather I should say your unconscious mind, the parts of your brain that form the unconscious mind, they come together to believe it. Your unconscious mind is rather like a 5-year-old child. And if you repeatedly told a 5-year-old child you're not good enough, you're a nervous rider, that 5-year-old child over time, no matter how confident they may have started out, if you keep bombarding them, eventually they will start to believe you. And it'd take a very, very strong 5-year-old to not believe it or have some doubts creeping in. So your brain believes what you repeatedly say. And obviously then your body responds in kind. And your body, as we know, you have a characteristic way of being when you're nervous. So it might be that your hands get tight or your forearms really clench up. Maybe your shoulders rise up towards your ears. Maybe you tip forwards. So this cycle of negativity starts with the way that you talk to yourself. And there's lots of research about this self-talk feedback loop, in that the more you say these things, the more they tend to become true. And because we're only human, the more we say those things. So we know that athletes, riders and so on, people who perform at any kind of level, doesn't matter the level at all, if they use negative self-talk, they will probably experience some kind of poorer outcome. So we need to change the way that we describe ourselves in our own mind, and also the way we tell people the type of rider we think we are. So if you've ever excused yourself and said, I'm a really nervous rider, or I'm not a confident rider, or anything of that nature, start to change the way you describe yourself. You could go the whole hog and call yourself a confident rider. Now, you might only feel comfortable doing that inside your own head. But if you're talking to somebody else, then you could say, I'm working on becoming confident. And you might even smile and tell them why you've explained yourself in such a way that you're experimenting with how words affect what you believe about yourself and how you perform. So we need to stop those negative descriptions. In this second part now, what I'd like to talk about is something else that we do inside our heads, and we do out loud, and we do it with words. It's not just about what you say to yourself. It's about how you complain. And I know this seems like a really minor thing, but how often do you complain? I've probably complained about 20 times today, maybe more, and it's still only the morning. You know, I think about the weather. I think about driving in the weather. I think about mucking horses out in this bad weather. All of this stuff, I've probably complained quite a bit. I've probably complained to myself even with minor things like the kettle not boiling quick enough. Or, you know, I've just sent a big transfer of data via the internet, lots of files, and it took for ages. And I couldn't believe it. So we complain quite a lot. Now, constantly complaining activates the stress hormone cortisol. And cortisol, even at a lower level, but, you know, certainly at a high level, can impair your focus, your concentration, and your relaxation. And complaining makes you feel as though you're stuck, makes it feel as though you're helpless, which obviously then breeds frustration. And it creates, again, this feedback loop where you're focused on what's going wrong, what's not right. And frequently complaining has that effect on the brain. In fact, even worse, it diminishes the brain's ability to problem solve and causes that reduction in thinking, in cognitive function. So when you focus on your problems, your brain gets stuck, making it harder to think, making it harder to problem solve, harder to stay calm, or even enjoy your riding. So could it be that our second task would be to stop complaining, or certainly reduce it? The way to do that is to, first of all, notice when you complain. And again, this will make you smile because you'll be alert to it and you'll think, wow, I complain a lot. I really do. So once you're aware of it, then to stop it, or to simply say delete, 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 so that that doesn't start to become another feedback loop in the brain. The third part of changing the way that we talk to ourselves and talk to others is to reframe some of the phrases that we use. So this helps to stop that negativity and starts to create that positive, more productive mindset. So the first one, I'm nervous. And you may have a different phrase that you tell yourself. You could change that to I'm excited. Now, some people do that. And for some people, it works brilliantly. Other people don't like to be excited. They don't like that feeling, especially when they're riding. They don't want that. It's almost like the start of a roller coaster. They don't like it. So if it works for you, that's great. If it doesn't work for you, could you say something like, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready. But not with the excitement feel. It's simply I'm grounded. I'm calm. I'm centered. I'm aligned. I'm ready. Could you use something like that? Of maybe it's been in a lesson when your instructor, your trainer has asked you to do something, and maybe secretly and inside your own head you said, oh, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. How about something like, if it were in a lesson, something like, well, that person trusts me to do this. Or something like, I'm learning how to do it. And this small change from I can't to I'm learning really helps you shift from that fixed I can't, which is almost like a dead stop, to I'm learning, which is far more open. So that fixed mindset starts to change to a more open mindset where you embrace the fact that you want to learn and you are learning. Now, my last little section is quite an unusual one. It's about gossip, and it's about what you think and say about other people. Now, maybe you only say these things inside your head, or maybe you go and have a good old gossip with somebody else. Did you know that your mind, your unconscious mind, takes these things on as though you were talking about yourself, which is quite scary. So if you've said something negative about somebody else, about their riding, about how they deal with their horse, anything along those lines, your unconscious mind thinks you're speaking about yourself. And when you think about all that criticism that you thought you were loading onto somebody else, when you've actually loaded it onto yourself, can you imagine then how that's affected your mindset? When you think about it just on a daily basis, or a weekly or monthly or yearly, what about a decade of talking about other people? So that's another little habit to stop, so that you take on board only what you want your mind to take on board. And if you have to speak about somebody else, make it in a positive way. Make it so that it isn't a criticism in a negative sense, or that you are giving positive advice in a really supportive way. So to round off then, we've talked about being aware of what you say to yourself inside your own head, especially things like how you describe yourself as a rider, how you complain about anything from the weather to having to get up early when you really rather would stay in bed. We've talked about reframing the common things that you say to yourself inside your mind, and also about stopping gossip. Each one of these is quite simple, but each one of these as an individual task will help you to move your mindset and think about yourself as a rider and your riding differently. But if you could do all of them, that would make a massive impact. So that's my challenge for you for this week. Watch what you say, be aware of it, stop it, delete it, and make sure that you're being the most positive cheerleader for yourself that you really can be. Next time, I'm going to talk about something again that seems really simple, but is really powerful as well. And that is taking responsibility for your own actions. I'm going to put a bit of an NLP spin onto it so that it can really, really change how you think about yourself and retrain your brain. Take care. I'll see you again next week.